Welcome to Everlasting Talk. Hello, welcome to Everlasting Talk. I'm your host Ever. Thank you so much for joining me. Today in the Biography, we're talking about Chalino Sánchez. We step into the world of Mexican music and culture and cover the underworld music of corridos with Chalino Sánchez. Before we get started, make sure to go to my link below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Follow my content, and I definitely appreciate it. Chalino Sánchez was known for his gritty and raw ballads that showcased the lives of drug lords, outlaws, and other stories, love stories as well. Before I continue, ballads or narco corridos are ballads that involve drugs, drug dealers, drug users, things like that. But yeah, Chalino Sánchez's story is one of triumph, tragedy, and enduring legacy in Mexican culture. He's actually one of my favorite artists of all time. That's why I thought this was amazing to actually be able to talk to you guys about. Chalino Sánchez was born on August 30th, 1960 in a small village named Las Flechas in the state of Sinaloa in northeast Mexico, called Sinaloa. He grew up in a rough area where there was crime and poverty, which was the norm. These harsh realities would later become the foundation of his music, making him el rey de los corridos, the king of the ballads. Youngest of 8 children, he experienced death when his father, Santos Sánchez, passed away when he was only 6 years old. Eventually, he became part of the, men of the household, especially taking care of his mom and his siblings. At the age of 15, his sister was attacked by a local drug dealer or drug lord. Being a brother that he is, he decided to defend his sister and his family. He would go ahead and make a decision that actually changed his life forever. He would go ahead, attend a party where the guy was, with a local drug dealer, drug lord was at. He actually ended up taking his life. Fearing that there would be revenge and retaliation from the drug dealer's gang or affiliations, his family, his mom decided for him to go to California, where he had family out there, and start a new life. He actually started working as a coyote. A coyote is just a human smuggler that smuggles people and other things as well, among other jobs such as selling drugs, working in fields, and etc., things like that to make income. Being a coyote would actually be for him to be able to work with his brother, Armando. Knowing the dangers of being a coyote, especially with, all the legal ramifications of it, there was an incident in 1984 where Armando, his brother, was shot and killed in a hotel. Eventually, this incident inspired his music. Actually, this is his first song was based on his brother, Armando Sánchez. Chalino would eventually be sent to prison for various crimes. The law caught up to him. And as a way to make money, he would start writing corridos for people in his jail cell and other outlaws, drug traffickers. They would pay him with many different things like food, money on his books. Eventually, down the road, he ended up, getting weapons and stuff, gold-plated guns and stuff like that. Nice clothes, watches, rings and stuff like that. So he would definitely be making a lot of money. Once he got out of prison, he knew he had a knack for music. People told him that. They liked his music. And he would take his songs and started recording them in a local recording studio with a band called Los Amables del Norte or Los Bravos del Norte. There's several bands he worked with. So he got these cassette tapes. Obviously, this is the 1980s, 90s, so there was cassette tapes. He would sell them at swap meets and other areas, eventually building a strong following throughout the area. His distinct voice and storytelling made him a sensation. His voice was not the greatest, but people actually liked his voice. It was gritty. It was raw. He even stated himself, and quote, he says, "I bark, I don't sing." And people acknowledged that. People knew that. But his flow, his style was just so good that you couldn't deny he had talent. Like I said, in the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, he started to book venues throughout the state of California where he gathered large crowds and they would come and cheer him out, come check him out. He was very good with like the crowd. He would tell people to dance, sing along, just having fun, and all these venues would get booked, mostly sold out. They had to always take, pull people like, a capacity crowd, so they would have to just deny people at the door. Songs like Nieves de Enero, which is fire, Alma Enamorada, Baraja de Oro, Redes Dorados, Pablo Navido, Agustin Nava. There's so many songs. It's so good. I definitely recommend checking him out. I think I have his albums and stuff. But one night, everything would change for him, where he knew his life was gonna change forever. But before that, like, a lot of his music was, popular throughout the United States and Mexico. Is getting a following, and a lot of his music started getting. I think this is around the time his music started getting like radio time, so people definitely enjoyed it. One night, on January 25th, 1992, like I said, it was a life-changing experience for him. At the Plaza Los Arcos in Coachella, California, with around 400 people in attendance. Like I said, they had to always like deny people at the door. He would eventually, have a good event. People were having fun. But a man, who knows if he was under the influence of something or not, but his name was Eduardo Gallegos. He requested a song, and he felt like he was kind of ignored by Chalino, because Chalino actually had other requests too. Chalino was known for doing requests for many people, especially different locations and stuff. So like if you were from the state of Sinaloa, he would do a song, what's up, hello to Sinaloa, Durango, Michoacan, other states as well. So I think the guy felt that he got really offended. But right away, the guy, as upset as he was, he ended up having a weapon on him. And he pointed it and shot at Chalino several times. But he didn't know that Chalino, especially the way, life he was living, for his career as a coyote and other things as well, he always had a gun on him because he was afraid for his life all the time. So eventually there was a gunfight in the actual venue, back and forth. Gallegos actually hit Chalino 2 times in the chest. One of them actually went through and struck his lung. Another bullet of Gallegos hit another musician in the leg. And unfortunately, a young woman lost her life on one of those, bullets. In total, 10 people were attacked or shot. Eventually, Gallegos, I think he fell down or something happened where he got tackled. And there was a struggle with a gun, and he got shot in the mouth, but by his own pistol. But he lived. He ended up getting a 20-year sentence for attempted murder, especially bringing a weapon out. And he actually got paroled in 2023, so he's out now. But this made Chalino say that his days were numbered. He felt like this was kind of like a sign that his doom was soon. And he definitely was very, very afraid, but he was having fun. He knew his music was great, and he people told him you probably should cool it off with this stuff. But obviously he knew he was always in danger, so that's why he always carried a weapon on him. Eventually, it saved his life because he was able to fight back. Eventually, a little while after, he was requested to perform in Sinaloa, the state where he was from, where his roots were from. He has never gone back since he was 15 years old. So he was 15 years or so plus since he went over there, obviously because of those reasons I mentioned earlier. His family and friends told him to not go. They were afraid that obviously he still had those enemies that wanted their payback from the incident that happened when he was 15 years old. So they were afraid something was going to happen to him. He was very aware of his mortality. He knew that his time eventually would come, especially the life he was living. He was married. He had 2 children. So he knew that, he had to, make money for them. He actually got like 5 to 6 figures, to perform in Sinaloa. So that was really good money. He would make I think $10,000 at the time per performance, and 10,000 in 1990s was a lot. It was a lot of money, compared to, if you compare it to today's money. I don't know how much that'll be now, but it'll be a lot. But he knew the risk. He decided to go anyways. I'm gonna go out there. Whatever happens, happens. He he said goodbye to people. Hey, it's the last time I'm gonna see you. He said it to a couple of his friends and family as well. I don't come back. This is good seeing you. So once he got to Sinaloa safely, he was into the venue. The venue was packed to the brim. People were having fun. They were singing along, and eventually there's an infamous clip where it shows him getting a note from the audience. We don't know exactly from who. You can't really tell, but he looked at it. He was kind of disheveled. He started sweating. You see his face. He looked kind of oh man, you're oh damn, But it didn't deter him. He kind of cleaned his sweat off his forehead, and he finished the concert with no incident. I think nobody really knows what is said on that note, but he knows that he was in danger. But he eventually ended up leaving the concert with a few people, and shortly afterwards, he was put over by 2 police officers. Air quotes. There's no real news on if it was actually a real police officer or not. But especially in the city of Sinaloa, corruption was rampant. So who knows if these were real police officers or they were paid to pull him over. At gunpoint, they pulled him out of the vehicle. Unfortunately, the next day overnight on May 16, 1992, his body was found tied up on the side of the road on a ditch with 2 bullets in his head, execution style. So yeah, they didn't show him no mercy, whoever did it. The circumstances of his death it's still a mystery, but might have been payback for Chalino, killing the drug lord back when he was 15 years old. Others said it was involving a woman that was not his wife. His killers were never found, but I did hear there's stories or that his killers actually got killed themselves by, people from Chalino's crew, but there's no real confirmation about that. Don't take my word or advice for that. Just that's what I heard through the grapevine. He was only 34 years old, so he was in the prime of his career. His death made him a legend. His music became more popular than ever. Unfortunately, with many artists, once they pass away, they become more and more popular. That's a lot of circumstances now. A lot of singers you hear about now. His music also, his death and life actually impacted other people in the genre too. There's many people that say that Chalino was his inspiration. There's many artists now that say Chalino Sánchez was inspiration for them to get into Mexican music and, corridos and norteño. And so, a lot of people also were imitators. They try to imitate his voice, try to pretend they were, sounding like him. Sometimes I kind of fell for that too. I would listen to some music. I'm like, this is not Chalino. It sounds like him, but why is this song like from 2000 or something, 1999? He's been, he passed away in 1992, and there's a lot of artists that are like that. There's a list of them. But one of the artists actually became his son. His son started singing when he was really little. He has some songs where he has an album where he was a kid. But his song Adan Chalino Sánchez, he even acquired his dad's name as a nickname. He always called out these artists for being fakes. Other artists he praised for still having, knowing that their flow was different, like Lupillo Rivera, or there's other ones as well. Unfortunately, his son, being an artist himself, he would actually be driving his dad's car, got into a car accident in Sinaloa, of all places, which is insane. So him and his dad, were both in the United States. They came to Sinaloa and both met their untimely death in Sinaloa. Adan died in 2004 in a car accident at the age of 19. So that's unfortunate as well. He's still, obviously Chalino was married and he had a daughter as well. But yeah, I mean, the reason I want to talk about Chalino was he's an inspiration to Mexican music, especially the corridos genre. Like I said, a lot of artists were inspired by him, especially like artists nowadays, like Peso Pluma said that Chalino was inspired by Chalino. There's other artists as well. There's some sources to check out. It's called El Rey, Chalino Sánchez, which is a biography. There's another one called El Rey by Vanessa Rubio, which is a biography. Chalino Sánchez El Hombre, which is a biography as well, or a documentary. But yeah, there's definitely many things you guys should check out. Obviously, check out his album. I heard actually recently his last album came out on vinyl. So I'm definitely getting that. I just got to get a record player that plays vinyls. But that's something I would definitely check out. Check out his music. If you obviously don't know Spanish, that's fine. You could probably, get someone that knows his music and could tell you about it. But yeah, the reason I wanted to talk about him is so influential. His singing style was so unique. Like I said, it was so unique that people imitated him but never duplicated him. And it's definitely one of my favorite artists of all time. I still play his music. People tell me like, you like this guy way too much. Like, hey, he's amazing. He's one of the greatest artists of all time. He had many nicknames. El Rey de los Corridos. People challenged for that title, but nobody's ever gotten close. El Pelavacas, among other ones. But yeah, this is a This is a biography on Chalino Sánchez. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to go to my links below. Get me follow me on Instagram, X, YouTube. Get your merch on Spring. And next time we're talking about Valentinian the third, so we're definitely switching it up. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye everyone. Adios. Thank you for listening to this episode of Everlasting Talk. For more content, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Everlasting Talk. Thank you.